Hello and welcome to another terrific episode of Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I am John Verico. I'm your host and delighted to be so because I get to meet so many fantastic people throughout doing this show. I'm so glad that Jim asked me to do this because I get to deep dive with the authors in this series and give you an opportunity to get to know them as well. Today's guest was a special surprise for me only because of the fact when I got him on the call just to get started and I heard his voice, I was so enamored with it. The guy is a radio broadcaster and it's so freaking obvious. You're going to love his voice. Anyway, Ron Smith is a recognized speaker on corporate social responsibility, which is also a topic very close to my heart. Um, He's been a radio news anchor for over 44 years, and he's written in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 20, which, as of this recording, is not quite on the street, but you should be looking for it. And he's written a chapter about the gifts and talents that you have and how you can put them to work in your community. And I hope I got all that right. But let me just bring him in because you're going to love this guy. I mean, he's got a great personality, and wait till you hear his voice. Hey, Ron, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, John. Doing fantastic. Welcome.
Good, good. And I hope I didn't put you on the spot there bragging about your voice, but I always, love people who've got those nice resonating tones and the ones that I always strove for as a broadcast journalist myself.
Well, you're very kind, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Hey, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to get together. Now, I know that you are in Ohio, which is kind of a unique place to be. You'd mentioned the fact that you're like 6 hours from any place of importance, which is just pretty incredible. And recently, you had a meteor come down not too far away, about an hour and a half from you. For those of you who are listening and maybe hadn't seen that, you might want to check out the news about the meteor strike in Ohio. Very, very cool stuff. But that's not what we're here to talk about. And I know you didn't get a chance to see it yourself. So let's get into why we're really here, right? Now you have written in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 20. Which is getting ready to come out on the street now. Do you remember the actual title of your chapter?
Kairos gratitude.
So it's the same title as the title of your own personal book.
Mhm.
So why don't we talk a little bit about what that is?
So, Kairos gratitude. Kairos are specific moments in your life where your life has taken a distinct change in direction, or something happens to you where you realize that your life will not be the same again. And gratitude is for the people that were important in your life at that time that brought you through those times. So, looking back at my lifetime, I can tell you that there have been six Kairos moments that I personally have experienced. And I have a great deal of gratitude for the individuals that brought me through those times. And what I write about in the chapter is for you to take in the book of Cracking the Rich Code is to take a look at your life and accept the challenge of going back and looking at the relationships that you've built with the people that you know and how you can use those relationships to actually help people in need and make your community a better place to live.
I love it. I've never heard the term Kairos before. And so that's a new one to me. I love learning new words and new things. So where does that come from? Do you know?
That's actually Greek. And a year ago, January, I attended a funeral of a very close friend of mine's father. I'd never met his dad. His father was a graduate of the Ohio State University here in Columbus, Ohio, and his roommate was a gentleman by the name of Archie Griffin, the two-time Heisman Trophy winner from Ohio State, the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner in history. And Jamal's dad was the roommate of Archie Griffin. And his
Wow.
dad's funeral happened to be on the same day that Ohio State was playing for the national championship. And Archie was at the funeral. Archie was not at the national championship for his alma mater. He attended the
Wow.
funeral and then arranged for a private jet to get him in time for kickoff for the national championship. He wasn't there days before for all the hype of the Ohio State University making the national championship team. It was more important for him to be at his best friend's funeral than it was to be a part of the celebration that was happening for the national championship. And that spoke volumes to me. But Jamal's older brother spoke at that service and delivered the eulogy for his dad. And that's when I learned about Kairos the first time, because he talked about all the times that Kairos was experienced in their family and in their lifetime. And he used that term. And I looked it up and I said, you know what? It's amazing. I never knew what to call the times in my life where I saw a distinct change in direction or an event that occurred to me that created me into the individual I am today. Now I have a name for it.
Right.
And so a few weeks ago, I actually had the opportunity to meet with his brother again and give him a copy and say, you know what? This was a result of what you had to say. And it blew him away.
Wow. Wow. You know, those moments are so critical in our life, and we reflect back on them and we realize the lessons that we've learned from them, the relationships that we've made, and everything really is all about relationships.
That is definitely true. Can I share with you an example?
Absolutely. That's what this is for, my friend.
So my entire life, my mantra has been what I was raised with, which is others before self. Others before self. And it actually comes out of 1 John 4:19. We love others because he first loved us. I've been a Christ follower my entire life. I make no apologies for it. But I'm an only child breaking 5 generations of teachers going back both directions. And the number of times that I saw my parents as teachers do things for students in their classroom spoke volumes to me. My mom taught first grade for 37 years. If she had a child in her class that couldn't see the chalkboard and needed a pair of glasses, before she would grade papers in the afternoon, she would call all 8 optometrists in our city and say, who's going to donate the glasses? I'll wait. I'll be here. You just let me know who it's going to be. And somebody would step up.
I love it.
My dad was the coach of the junior high basketball team. He was a 7th grade math teacher. But if there was a kid that couldn't afford the shoes to play ball, he'd go to both sporting goods stores in our hometown. We had 2. And he'd say, okay, who's going to donate the shoes? There wasn't anything as Dick's Sporting Goods back then. There was just mom and pop sporting goods stores. So I was always raised with others before self. And then I got into scouting, and I'm an Eagle Scout. And that's part of the motive of scouting, is to give to others. And then in radio, at the end of my senior year of college, I worked in radio since the age of 14. But to pay my way through school, I worked in radio at a radio station. And we lost our license as a radio station due to FCC violations at the end of 1989. And we all needed to find something else to do. So I had the brainiac idea, create an audio video production company. You can do that. So as you can see over my shoulder, SOH Productions. And we just celebrated 37 years in business on February 9th. And SOH Productions stands for Serving Only Him. He's the owner of the store. I'm just the keeper. But I started my own business. And because I started my own business, I needed to get involved in the community and get involved with the Chamber of Commerce to be able to promote my business. Well, being involved with the Chamber, they had an event that they have every year called the Taste of Gahanna. I'm in a town called Gahanna. It's on the northeast side of Columbus. It's one of 13 suburbs. I'm 9 miles from Ohio State Stadium and the Ohio State campus downtown. But
nice.
With the Taste of Gahanna, all of the restaurants in town give away their signature dish one night a year, and you have 30 restaurants in a room, and you get to taste everything. Well, they needed an MC for the night, so they came to me and said, hey, Ron, you're in radio. Do you know some people that might be able to MC our event? I said, I know. And I said, I know just the person.
I might.
I know the anchor of the evening news on our local CBS affiliate, and she loves doing community events, and she would love to do it for you. So I introduced her to the Chamber, and she emceed the event for 5 years. But being involved in the event led to, would you like to be on the committee? And then after about 3 years, would you like to chair the committee? And then after that, would you like to be a board member? And then would you like to serve as the vice chair? And so I ended up serving as the vice chair of our chamber for 6 years. And
you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
You see what I'm doing? Yeah, for those of you who are only listening to this and not watching, I keep raising my hand. We have the same problem. My wife calls it helium arm.
There you go. And so I feel very blessed to have served my community in that way. But while I was vice chair of the chamber, our local food pantry said, we need a chamber rep on our board. Would you come over and serve on our board at the food pantry as well? I said, absolutely. And so I learned and was able to see for the very first time in my life, my mantra actually being lived out through a food pantry of helping people. And then in 2017, one of my best friends since the age of 12 started a nonprofit in the hometown we grew up in, 8 miles from here, called Neighborhood Bridges. And neighborhoodbridges.org, you can look us up, is built to help families, children, and students in need. Now, unlike the food pantry where all they do is food, I asked Rick, I said, with your project, what can we help with? And he said, anything. I said, did you just say anything? He said, yes, we can do anything. I'm in. And he said, well, I'm trying to grow it to other communities. You seem to be pretty connected in the town you've moved to. Would you consider bringing it to Gahanna? And I said, absolutely. Over the last 9 years, we've been able to grow Neighborhood Bridges now to be in 68 communities across 4 states, and we've impacted 634,000 people in just 9 years.
That's amazing.
And it's all volunteer. So we were to start the program in our community on November 1st of 2017. The organization started in one community on Martin Luther King Day that year in January, but 10 months later, we expanded and we came to our second city, which was my town. We were supposed to start on November 1st. Well, a week before that, it was a Wednesday morning at 5:30, and John got up to get his breakfast. And as he was taking his toast out of the toaster, he started to smell smoke, but it wasn't coming from his toaster. So he put his shoes on, opened up the door to the hallway to his 4-unit apartment building, and looked down the hall and he saw fire. So immediately he threw on a coat and started banging on doors to get the other 3 people in the other 3 units out. They were 1-bedroom, single-unit apartments. And everybody escaped. That was at 5:30. At 6:30, I got a call from my mayor on my cell phone next to my bed at 6:30 a.m. And he said, Ron, isn't this what you guys do, help people? I said, yeah. I know you're supposed to kick off next week, but would you mind getting over here? Sure. I was on scene by 7 o'clock and I met John. And John stepped into the ambulance and I said, John, what's your story? And he goes, I'm an electrical contractor. All of my tools burn up in the fire. I usually keep them in my truck, but last night I brought them in. And if I don't have tools as a contractor, I can't work. I said, John, you know what? I have a relationship with Trish. She's the owner of the local hardware store. I see her at chamber meetings all the time. Give me a second. Let me give her a call. So I called Trish. I told her what I do. And she said, you know what, Ron? We normally open at 10. Do up a list of every tool that John has lost in the fire. Get over here at 9:30. I'll replace every tool, no charge, and I'll take care of them. What?
Wow. See?
Yeah. I'll replace it at no charge.
Amazing.
You've got to be kidding me. No, I know you. I've known you for years. I'm happy to help you. Wow. Okay. Then April steps in. I said, April, what's your story? I'm a nurse. There's nothing left. All my scrubs are burnt. All my nurse's shoes are gone. I said, well, interesting. 2 weeks ago, one of my 4 daughters, who's going into medical assisting, needed to buy scrubs. We went to Imlay's Uniforms. I hate shopping with a passion. Oh my gosh. And so being a good dad, I made a fool of myself in the store. I said to Susan, the manager, I said, you've got maroon, black, and blue on the shelf. Don't you have like fluorescent green, fluorescent orange, fluorescent yellow? I mean, come on, just 3 colors? And I was being really goofy. And so I said to April, I said, you know what? Maybe Susan remembers me. So I called Susan on the phone and I said, you might remember me. I'm the dad of Yeah, I remember you. Okay, cool. I'm talking to April. Can you help? Well, I'll tell you what, we're normally open noon to 5. Can you get over here at 11:30 here with April and she can take anything she needs off the shelf? We'll donate it. That's a Kairos moment. That's the moment I realized that the relationships that I had built in 28 years of business I can use to bless others in my community and help out. That was a Kairos moment because I discovered at that time the gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I can use to bless others and impact my community.
That is amazing. And you know, we realize in times like this that all people really need is given the opportunity to help, and they will. So many times we get so tainted in our perspective of the world that we think that people, you know, are too wrapped up in themselves. And in general, sometimes they are. But if something is pointed out to them and they're given the opportunity to open up their heart, they will. And it's such a wonderful moment when it happens. And you've got a big heart, and I can tell this immediately. And I think this is kind of the evolvement from, you know, your work with Neighborhood Bridges to your own business now, which is Bridge to Kindness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would you talk a little bit about that evolution?
Yeah. So the Bridge to Kindness, we have been so blessed as a nonprofit. If you're operating at under 20% admin as a nonprofit, you're doing pretty good. We're at 4%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are completely volunteer run. We've been so blessed to have so much success with what we've done as a nonprofit. So I was challenged with a few years back, how do we help other nonprofits accomplish this same type of success? Nonprofits struggle. There are 17,000 nonprofits within 60 miles of where I'm sitting. 17,000. If I was to do a man on the street interview in my community and go downtown with a mic and say, I'll tell you who I am after you answer the question, just so you know that I'm legit. But I want to ask you the question before I tell you who I am. I want you to name every nonprofit in your community. Ready? Go. You could probably name 5. That would be Lions, Kiwanis, and Rotary. That's a given in any community. You could probably name our food pantry, which has been around since 1974. And you could probably name Neighborhood Bridges, which has impacted 17,000 of the 37,000 residents in our town. We have 27.
Wow.
People don't know that. So from my gifts and talents that I've been blessed to receive, and there's a list of 22 gifts and talents. Most people have a strong 2, another 3, and then the rest just fall off. But there's 22. So what am I doing to use my gifts and talents to be able to help these other nonprofits accomplish the same type of success we've been blessed with Neighborhood Bridges? Aha, you're in radio. You need to use your voice. You need to be a bullhorn and a megaphone. You need to do a do a podcast. You need to do a radio show, and you need to promote and tell people stories about how these other nonprofits have helped people. And through the Bridge to Kindness, we have 5 pillars to support a community. The first pillar is a radio show and a podcast. We can highlight 50 nonprofits in a month and tell their stories. You say, okay, what's your proof of concept on that? Really simple. Have you ever heard of the Rick and Bubba Show? The Rick and Bubba Show can be heard weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on 35 great radio stations across Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Rick and Bubba heard about what we were doing across the state of Alabama. We're in 23 communities, and they're based out of Birmingham, and they said, we'd like to have you as a guest on our morning show. You have 4 minutes to explain what you're all about. Ready? Go. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yolanda was driving to work, listening to the Rick and Bubba morning show, which she does every morning. She was driving to work in Ardmore, Alabama. If you've ever been to Ardmore, drive down Main Street, Ardmore. The right side of the street's Alabama. The left side of the street is Tennessee. You can buy a lottery ticket on the right side. You can't on the left side. Anyway, she was driving to work, and she heard about how we're helping people through acts of kindness. And she was like, why aren't we doing this in my hometown? We need to do this here. Because Yolanda stepped up and out in her first year, 974 acts of kindness. Now, I can't tell you if those people would have received help in some other way. That's not for me to judge. What I'm telling you is she heard herself and said, I can do that too. So if through our storytelling and talking to 5 nonprofits a week, 50 nonprofits a month, we can encourage people to hear themselves in the story and say, that's where I want to volunteer, we've achieved our mission. So that's the first pillar.
Yeah.
The second pillar is establish a neighborhood bridges network in that community, just like we have here, to help people in need through the school district. The third is a support group that nonprofit directors can attend and get the support they need. Nonprofit directors are on an island. They feel so siloed. I can't talk to anybody about the problems I'm going through. I'll just internalize, suppress, and burn out, and the nonprofit will go away. I've got a board member you would not believe. He's trying to put through his own mission, and it's not the mission of my organization. How do you deal with a board member like that? Or I've got a shortfall this month. I'm not going to make it. I need to do a quick ask. What type of an email do I put together? What do I put in the email? What donors do I send?
Right.
Come to the support group. You're with others. They can help you. The third pillar is where we actually work with.
So many times, really quickly, so many times nonprofits feel like they're competing for resources, and they're afraid to work together.
Yep.
But I've found, when they work together side by side, they can actually complement each other, and they get more people involved.
And you're going to love the next pillar because it's right in line with corporate social responsibility. We work with the local Better Business Bureau. We have a relationship with them. To do workshops, to introduce them to businesses that they can have a partnership with. There's an organization called Operation Warmth. They do sleeping bags for the homeless downtown. It's a huge, gigantic, big nonprofit. It's made up of two people, Paul and his wife, and they borrow from Paul's retirement and 401k to buy the sleeping bags for the homeless. And his wife's like, honey, I love you, but if you don't stop, we're going to need a bag ourselves. Well, we were doing a video for him because this is a production company. I do videos for nonprofits at no charge because based on my faith, I know it'll come back to me. We were filming Paul's video and I said, Paul, what are you using this for? I need donors. I can't keep buying bags. I was told I can't keep buying bags. I said, Paul, you know what? Let me get Kevin Chandler on the phone. He owns a outdoor outfitter business. So I called Kevin and I said, Kevin, you get demo bags up on your shelf from REI, Yeti, and Coleman, and it says take the box below to the register to buy it. But what do you do with the demo bags up on the shelf when you're done with them? Oh, I just pitch them in the dumps. No, you don't. Let me introduce you to Paul.
Nope.
Paul hasn't had to buy a bag in 4 years. So setting up workshops where nonprofits can align themselves with a business to help. And then the final pillar is a community event where people can actually come in and learn about the nonprofits in their community and where they can volunteer. There are 2 lanes of traffic. One lane is nonprofits who know who they are, what they do, what they're all about. They're darn proud of it. Another lane of traffic is people that would love to help but have no idea how to plug in. The 2 lanes are not intersecting. We're building a bridge. So when you come in, it's not speed dating. Take 5 minutes, take a gift assessment, find out what your gifts and talents are. And then every nonprofit in the room has identified what gifts and talents they're looking for. So you can go and talk directly to them immediately. You're not going booth to booth to booth to booth. You have the gift of service. John, that's fantastic. You seem like a pretty husky guy. The furniture bank is looking for somebody who can drive their truck and pick up the furniture that's being donated. If you're willing to have the gift of service and give us an hour a week to drive the truck, fantastic. Oh, you've got the gift of leadership. Cool. Did you know that our food pantry is looking for a program director right now? Can you go talk to the food pantry right now? So it's connecting people. And by building that 5-pillar structure in any community, we can bring through the Bridge to Kindness project a community together. The larger we grow in population, the closer we need to be to each other to identify what the needs are and step up and meet them. And you can use your relationships and the gifts and talents that you've had in your life to make that difference.
I love it. I'm actually working with a community of businesses here in York, Pennsylvania, to identify the nonprofits that are in the area and try to figure out what kind of support they need. So we're in the same wavelength, my friend. And I'm going to look and see if there is a neighborhood bridge organization here in this vicinity. And if not, well, we got to talk.
We'll bring it.
I know you will. I know you will. Look how quickly this time is going. It's absolutely ridiculous. For those of you who kind of tuned in late, go and watch this thing from the beginning. You want to hear everything Ron has to say. This is a guy with a super generous heart, and a great voice to back it up. He's a fantastic storyteller, and actually, very inspirational and get you fired up to going and helping nonprofits and helping people in your community. He is an expert in redirecting your gifts and talents for your talents. Oh, there's a brand new word. I love when we come up with new words in the broadcasting world. But he can help people really redefine how to use their own personal gifts and talents for the benefit of others. This has been just an absolutely fantastic conversation, and I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and I can't wait for volume 20 to come out so I can read this chapter as well. But I'm also going to look for a copy of Kairos Gratitude, because I really think that that is so eye-opening. I'd never heard the term Kairos before, but I'm going to start using it because it actually is. This to me was a Kairos moment. It was really an eye-opener for what we can do. I love working with nonprofits, and my wife used to work for a nonprofit. Actually, the last nonprofit she worked with, they took nonprofit so seriously that they went under. So, but unfortunately, too many nonprofits suffer that way because they wind up, they're dedicated to their cause, but a lot of them don't have the business sense or the backing to keep it going. And so you're finding a way to help all of that. And that's absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate what you're doing out there.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you for your kind words and your support.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to remind people, check out Ron's website, thebridgetokindness.com. This is his personal project where he supports the nonprofit world and has been absolutely amazing at it. And I can't believe some of the successes that you've had. Yes, I can believe it, because really all it takes is being able to build that bridge and reach those hands out. And we forget how many connections we have that we could make for others that could make a significant difference. I think it's a good thing to remind people that we can make a difference every single day.
And if you want to bring this to your community, just reach out to me on our website and say, contact me. You don't have to be the one that leads the project. You don't have to be the one that serves as the area director. But if you have the ability to put leaders in your community around a table for a lunch and learn, and that we can come in and talk to and say, we can bring this to your community and we can do this together. This is a bottom-up mentality. This is not a top-down program. This is a bottom-up. I'll give you an example of that. Our fire chief said, you know what? People come up with donations all times a day. Sometimes people work overnights and they don't have time during the day to bring a donation to you. I got an idea. I'm going to go out to Home Depot and I'm going to buy a 6-foot by 3-foot deep, 2-foot wide tub. And I'm going to put it at the back of every one of my fire stations so that if somebody has dishes to donate or clothing or whatever, I don't want one of those dumpsters in a parking lot that are overflowing with clothes. But if there are people who can't get a donation to you during normal business hours, I want a safe place open 24/7 that people can bring it to you. And then we'll let you know it's here, and then you can come by and pick it up, because we don't have a warehouse. Within 90 minutes of picking up something that's being donated to a family, like a kitchen table and chairs, it's going right to the family in need right that moment. We'll tell you who's getting it, not by name, but we'll tell you their story. And so that fire chief came up with that idea, who I've known for 30 years in my community. And you know what? The next 67 communities that came on said, that's brilliant. We're doing it here too.
We're doing the same thing.
So it's a bottom-up mentality of what can we do that's unique to our community to help people. We had a town called Lebanon that wanted to do a $20.25 gift card for the class of 2025 for every senior that was graduating in June of last year. And they got a local business to sponsor the gift cards, and they put them in every diploma. Well, that's brilliant. We should do that in our community. And it spread it just spread across all of our communities to do the same thing. And so we believe in a bottom-up mentality, because each community has its own unique character and its own unique personality. And so we want to be able to make sure that comes home. that it's not this is what we're doing as a whole neighborhood bridges corporate or bridge to kindness project. No, it's a bottom up mentality. And that's why we've been able to be so
Yeah.
blessed to be able to expand in the way that we have.
I love it. I love it. And I wish you continued success. And I know that it will be happening out there. Absolutely. This has been a fantastic conversation with Ron Smith, who is just such a heartwarming guy. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't say any more than that. You're just all heart and all generosity, and I really love what you're doing out there in the world. I can't wait to read your chapter in volume 20. Um, Folks, check out his website at thebridgetokindness.com and reach out to Ron. Really good way to do that is on LinkedIn. And because Ron Smith is such a common name, his LinkedIn to find him may be a little challenging. It is Ron hyphen S hyphen 7201479, which makes no sense at all, but it is on the screen and it will be in the show notes. So reach out and connect with him that way if you don't connect with him via his website. Ron, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. It's been a fantastic conversation. I look forward to further communication with you and perhaps some collaboration as we go forward.
It'd be my pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity. Blessings to everybody.
It's been great. Thanks again, Ron. And folks, again, check out Ron's website at thebridgetokindness.com and look for his chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 20. And that wraps up this episode of the Cracking the Rich Code podcast. Stay tuned for another one and meet another fantastic author in this series. This has been one of the highlights of my career, is being able to do this. Greatly appreciate it. Have a great day, folks, and check